Hello. Great comments, great postings on the inventory and logistics this week. Really appreciated both the efforts on the two forums. Lots of things that on the APL and the loading and everything, the software necessary for that. A couple thoughts on a smaller scale. If you've ever seen watch loading docks load semi trailers, they need to get the load secured and they need to get it balanced. I don't know if you've ever seen semis overturn on the highway because the load is shifted on them, or they have taken with a curve, getting on and off the ramps, causing the trailer to flip over. It is an issue with tankers also. A tanker that's not really full has a free surface effect from the liquid moving back and forth inside, and that can cause problems. So just a few other things to know about on our shipping of things via semis on the highway. A couple other items here. A lot of comments on Deere, PDC comments, Parts Distribution Center, and such as that. Deere's dealer network is extremely active, robust, and meets the farmers' needs. When they need parts, they call the PDC and they get them. If PDC happens to be out or the part happens to be of such a nature that it would not be carried, it is not unheard of to disrupt normal production within the factory to have those parts produced immediately and shipped out to the farmer. When harvest has to be done within a couple days because of the weather or other circumstances, we don't wait for parts in normal distribution channels. Deere bends over backwards to get the part made and out to the farmer. Some internal inventory things at Deere that I observed during my 2 years at Harvester. Parts come down to the production line in what are called Conticos. These are large hard plastic collapsible containers of various sizes, usually moved by fork trucks. But the container, it's a pretty efficient way if you get the right size part and the right quantity in the container when it comes to the production line. However, with anything that's a container, it ends up being a trash can. And there's been more than one occasion when parts have been pulled out and trash has been put back on top of it unintentionally that tend to hide the remaining parts, which means that sooner or later that Contico will be full and moved out to the trash and waste. There were several times when the material coordinators had to personally get into these Conticos and find those parts, started sending reports back to the line supervisors that sometimes these parts valued at close to $100,000. So not taking care of the parts using the Conticos as trash cans. It's kind of like any horizontal surface will not remain empty for long. Someone will set something on it and they'll start collecting something. Again, any container sitting on the floor will eventually become a trash can, and if it's not emptied, you will lose parts. Which also comes up to worker safety stock. It is not unheard of workers that know their job pretty well and know those critical parts that sometimes show up or don't show up. They may store a couple of these in their toolbox for when they don't show up. This really messes up the material coordinator's inventory system and does other things through the whole supply chain. So it's another thing to watch out for as a line supervisor, is to people keeping private stocks of parts and materials that you would expect to come to the line, but when they're hidden, they're not seen. They could be forgotten about over time. They become a lost item and they disrupt production. So enough on inventory there at Deere. Misty and Sarah talked about accounts payable, accounts receivable. Two very important functions. In large corporations, it's important, it's easy and it's important that these reside in different people, different within the organization, within the accounting firm. Very important that when the material comes in, it is inventoried, it is inspected, and it's only signed for when it's acceptable, and that this sheet makes it to the accounting department so that when the bill comes in, they can pay it. Let's say in large corporations, it's very easy to separate these two functions. In smaller corporations, it's not, especially family-owned businesses. Not unheard of to find a single person becomes responsible for both accounts payable and accounts receivable. I hope you can see from this that it puts a tremendous amount of pressure ethically and morally on that person handling the money. And if you remember the Dixon, Illinois comptroller, Rita Grunfeld, who managed to embezzle close to $53 million over 20 years from the city, uh, merely by the fact that she could handle accounts payable and accounts receivable at the same time, submit false invoices, pay them to her own account. So again, small companies don't have as many people and resources, but they need to consciously keep in mind you want to separate those two functions. As far as inventories themselves, at the bakery, all the managers participated in a monthly inventory. We counted everything. You could count on every fourth Saturday. You were going to be in there for 3 or 4 hours in a designated area counting things. This first started off as handwritten, hand-drawn maps, later progressed to scanning barcodes for locations, barcodes for packaging and materials. But it was a huge responsibility for the managers, and not all that pleasant doing on every fourth Saturday. A large company such as Lowe's, I managed to see one of their periodic inventories. They engaged a third party that came in and worked for probably a week around the clock, mapping out areas with tape, labeling them, labeling the products, getting some kind of an initial count in the general areas, and then at some time, probably after the store closed, they went ahead and did a one-shot count of everything. But if you've ever seen someone like Lowe's or Home Depot, and you see a bunch of people in there and maybe wearing blue vest or something of that nature, counting things, that's what they're doing. So that's about all I have to say on the week. I hope you're enjoying the class. 1 week left. I'll have a couple notes to send out to you in preparation for the last week. Last week is on quality, so you're reading in quality, and the form question is about out of specification, how those things happen and the impact that occurs. If you are in a management position, supply management, operations management, you will spend the majority of your time dealing with out of process problems. So again, thank you very much for the efforts in the class. I sincerely appreciate it. Hope you're getting something out of it. Hope you're getting what you want out of the class, and look forward to wrapping this up next week. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a great weekend.